So last week I showed you how I made a bunch of different into resin molds in the Resiner's new G3 curing machine. And this week I'm going to show you how I use them in different projects to create different artwork to be able to sell at craft shows. Not that they're not good enough to sell just as they are, but I used them in many different ways that you might be interested in. So although I thought the crab was super cute, I decided we needed to add some more color or sparkle to him. So the resin I'm using for this project is Bond Crafter resin. It's an excellent resin for molds and for glass on glass. In the resin I'm mixing this Color Shift alcohol ink. It's a glitter blue violet and it leaves a really pretty sparkle in the resin. I mix it up, put it in my Resiner's bubble removal machine and pour it into the crab mold. I do not fill the mold up all the way because I'm also going to be putting UV resin into the regular epoxy resin. The UV resin that I'm using is a colored UV resin by Lightwish. They have some really pretty bright colors, and right on top of the epoxy resin I am putting the UV resin. And the reason I'm doing this is because when you mix regular colored resin, the colors seem to mingle too much, and what you mix it at before at the beginning of the process of it curing and at the end, it does not look the same. When you do it this way, I assure you that it will look exactly the same as how you left it when you first poured it. Colors will be just as bright and they won't be washed out by the other resin mixing in with it. So after I get my colors down the way I want them and I swirl them around in the middle, I use this G3 curing machine on the UV mode for 3 minutes. When it's done with the UV mode, I then put it on to the epoxy resin curing mode for an additional 2 hours at 149 degrees, and this is how it comes out. Isn't that pretty? I think it's so pretty, and it has a little sparkle to it. I don't know if you can see it there, but I'll show you up close everything when I'm done. So with this crab that I made, I also had an oval frame that I had picked up at a garage sale and painted that real pretty blue. I mixed up some more Bond Crafter resin and poured that onto the glass. This is a glass on glass project because I'm going to be using some glass too. And if at all possible, it's easier to spread the resin out before you have anything else on it. And then I take some, this is Ashland decorative filler. It's a very light blue reflective glass. You can get the regular silver reflective glass all the time. I believe I bought this like this, but you can also color it this color with different colorants, and I have them listed under my favorite things under this video. I sprinkle that all around the perimeter, and then I take my crab and I put it in the center of it, and I put it in the curing machine one more time. And I put this in for 2 hours at 149 degrees, and glass on glass art works beautiful in it. Of course, it has to be small enough to fit in there. This project just happened to be small enough so I could do it. And then I made another crab the identical way that I made the first one that I just showed you, and I took some UV resin. I believe this is actually Bond Crafter UV resin. They also have UV resin, which is just as good as any of the other UV resins, and I just spread it out on top of the nightlight. And this is the Let's Resin UV light, which is really nice, especially for balancing nightlights. I think I showed it to you before. I thought maybe you could fit 2 on there, but one of them hangs off just a little bit, so you're better off just doing one at a time. So I just spread the UV resin all the way over it. And if you're new to this, probably a high viscosity UV resin may be easier for you. I'm using a regular UV resin, and I just stick the crab on and turn the light on and leave it on for about 3 to 5 minutes. And I promise you I will show you guys everything up close at the end. This turned out super cute, just like this, without any glass or anything on it. I also made a few crabs up using the glitter, and I did put some clear Elmer's glue in it to keep it from sinking all the way to the bottom. For those of you who don't know, if you use clear Elmer's glue, a couple of drops, you can keep the glitter from sinking. And it also it clumps together so much. I think it also helped to keep those the red separate from the blue. So anyway, those turned out cute, and I also did a couple of them in gold. So another one of the crabs, I used, put some resin in the bottom, regular epoxy resin, and then I used some crushed blue shells, and I put that in the center of the crab, and then I used some UV resin and put it in all of the legs, the red, the yellow, and the blue. And the only thing I wished I would have done different with this was I wish I would have kept the red but used the blue instead of the yellow, and then made the lower legs much darker blue, or put more of the UV resin in, or just regular blue resin, I guess, because they were much too light. Then I put it under the UV mode to cure up the UV resin, and then the epoxy resin mode for 2 hours. He turned out pretty. I really like the way the shell looks in the body of the crab. I just wish I had made those legs darker, like a darker blue to go with it. And then I did another crab, and this time I just took clear UV resin and put a couple lines back and forth in the bottom, and then I took the white UV resin and made another line, and then I took my blow dryer and I had it on low and no heat, because you don't want to put heat on these molds, you could ruin them. And I kind of went back and forth and just moved the white around to kind of look like some waves. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because the bottom is actually the top, so you would see the wave on top of the water or on top of the sand. And this one I kind of messed up. I pushed it up too far. The wave should have been lower toward the bottom of his body. And then I put it on the UV mode for a couple minutes, and then I took, and there you can see it. See, I have it up too high. The white should be down much further. Then I mixed some sand with some resin, and I put that in the lower half of his body. And I also put some UV resin, and I grabbed the dark one by accident. I didn't mean for it to be that dark. And then I had to put that under the UV light again. And I poured some more resin over the top of it because it wasn't full all the way. And then I put it for 2 hours on the epoxy resin mode at 149 degrees. I actually ended up making 2 of these, and the one on the left I think turned out better because the white was down further and I used the lighter blue. And this other one, the white went way up. But they're still cute. They still look coastal, beachy. So some of the crabs, I had put these bail blanks on the back while they were curing. I don't know if you saw my last video. I got these up at Michael's. They actually came with a combination of silver and the gold. And what I did was right after I poured the resin, I took them and I put it right onto the back of it, kind of balanced it so it was cured right into the resin. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to like the look of that, so I didn't do it with all of them. So some of them I had to drill holes in. And these are not all the crabs I made. I made a few more, but these are the ones right now that I'm showing you me drilling holes in it. And I have this resiners. It's actually a sander, a drill, grinder. It's just a multi-purpose tool, and it's pretty cool. It's nice and compact. But I just went ahead and I used it to drill holes in any of the ones that I either didn't put the bail blanks on, and a couple of them I remembered to put the little windows homemakers in while they were curing too. And a couple of them I put the hole on the wrong side. But anyway, this tool is pretty cool, so I just drilled a hole through the ones that did not have anything to put a ribbon through or on. So when you take these out of the mold, if you kind of overfill but don't go over, you can get a nice smooth bottom on it, and you don't have to sand it or do anything. Well, like this, I'm going to have to go between the legs. See that? So I have something called a deburring tool, And what you do is you just take it like this and you go along the edge. And it's in your best interest to do this within 24 hours of demolding. So when you first demold it, it's usually too soft. And then after 24 hours, it can become too hard to use this. So this is nice and smooth. There was a little overrun of the resin here, so I'm going between the legs. And with something like this, you need to be careful that you don't pull a leg off. But otherwise, if you don't fill it up enough, what happens when resin cures, it kind of sinks down. So it leaves kind of a lip, a sharp lip on here. And you have to take the deburring tool and go over it. And it will take it right off if you don't wait too long. If you wait too long, you can always use, see here, all along this edge. You can always use the tool here from Resiners or any kind of rotary tool, but this is really nice. And it has different attachments, and you saw me using it with the drill bit, but it also has sanding attachment. Well, it has regular sandpaper attachments, grinder attachments, and this is buffer shining attachments, and then the drill bits. And the great thing about this is it's cordless. So you just charge it. This goes off, this is, I think they call it a C port, goes right on my cell phone charger. I can plug it right into that. I don't even have to use this. I just use my regular iPhone charger and plug it in, and it goes cordless, and you just hold your finger on it to get it going. So it's pretty cool. And then you hold down on it and it shuts off. So the majority of the time there is a little bit of cleanup on these. Well, this one I did pretty good. So if you overfill without going over, it will be smooth. And if you if you go just to the edge, it'll usually sink in and leave a little bit of an edge on it. So the deburring tool comes with a little pack of replacement. So to replace it, you just pull down and it comes up, and to put it back in, you hold down and push it in real hard. It took me a long time to figure this out. I don't know if it comes with directions or not, but I guess I didn't read them. So then it's locked in. So I bought a bunch of beads on Amazon, and this first package is a package of wood beads. There's 200 for $13.99, and they're real coastal looking, and they have some like starfish and a seahorse and a shell wood bead. And then these are glass beads, and these were also $13.99 for 150 of them. And then the last package was $7.39 for 50 of them. I think the other package of the glass beads, 150 for $13.99, was a better deal, but it just depends on what color you need. So it's not a surprise I'm going to be making these all into Christmas ornaments, I think. And I guess maybe even the coastal ones you could hang in a window or in the car, I don't know. But I am struggling with making a knot and trying to hide the knot and trying to hold the bead on there so that it doesn't fall down. And I'm also trying to keep them so that the beads don't separate. And later on in the video, you'll see I use hot glue. So here I'm doing one at a time, picking out beads that I think go with it. And some of the beads are not, the hole is not large enough. For the most part, like the glass beads, they have really large holes, but some of the wood beads, the hole isn't big enough, so I'm just using my little rotary tool from Resiners to make the hole bigger so that I can get the thread through there. And the other thing you can do is take like a toothpick and help stick it through, or a needle or something like that to help push the thread through there. But the thread I got is fairly thin to begin with. So it was just a lot of fun picking out the different beads to to go with each of the different ornaments. I had such a nice assortment when I first bought those beads. I was going to get them all and check them all out and then decide which ones to send back, but I ended up opening all 3 packages and using all of them, so I'm sure I'll find something else to use them for. I have to do the starfish after this, so for my next video. So I think they're really turning out cute. And the couple that I put the bail blanks on stayed on, but one of them that I had actually put on, I believe with the E6000, fell off. So I guess putting it right in the resin is the best, or it just depends on what look you like. If you don't mind that little piece of jewelry sticking up, or if you'd rather drill a hole in it, or of course the little Windows hole maker, which I forgot to use for a bunch of them. You can use that also, and then you don't have to do any drilling. In the package of wood beads came the round beads, and in addition to that, those 4 special ones. It was a seahorse, a couple of shells, and a starfish, and those were real cute additions. And I just thought those ones looked real coastal. And these next wood beads I'm showing you I had gotten last year and never used. And if you have wood beads already, you can just spray paint them whatever color you want. You don't need to buy any more. I just thought the ones online were so pretty I had to get them. One of the last ones that I tried to drill the hole through, the one, remember I put the blue shell chips in, you can see it down in the bottom right hand corner, and in a second I set my package of beads on top of it. I couldn't get that drill through it, so my husband took it out in the garage and used his drill, so he must have a stronger drill. But the shell one I really think is pretty. And then, of course, for all of them, I had to put black on the eyes. And isn't that cute with those beads on there? I think those beads make it look so pretty. I had a lot of fun putting the beads on. So here I'm just finishing up with the last minute putting the strings through. And if anybody can tell me of a different way to tie it so that it looks nice and you can hide the knot. I guess I could try to hide the knot in the middle of the wood bead if it's large enough, if the opening's large enough. But anyway, like I said, I was struggling with keeping the beads on the string and with keeping them together. So that's when I went ahead and I got my hot glue gun out. And at first I was trying to put a dab of hot glue at the very top ornament so it would attach to the string, the very top bead, so it would attach to the string and the bead. And then I figured out if I put it between the 2 beads that were closest to the top, because some had 2 and some had 3, it would attach those together and to the string. The glue would be hidden. You wouldn't be able to see it because I was kind of making a mess with the glue. You know how hot glue can be so messy. But anyway, so the rest of it I'm going to fast forward through. The other thing that was kind of a pain is the hot glue gun that I have is cordless, but you stick it on the stand and then it heats up, and when you take it off the stand it starts cooling down. So you only have a minute or so to work with it until it gets cools off, and then you can't use it anymore. So I guess I should probably have one with a cord on it, and then it wouldn't cool down. It would just stay hot all the time. And then at the very end, I have one more project with the crab to show you, and I promise you'll see everything up close and how cool everything turned out. So next I'm going to do something with the whale, and although I think this whale is adorable just by himself and I could think of several different things to do with him, really want to make a half mold out of him. Now you can put a screw in the top possibly and hang him just like a Christmas ornament if you have a coastal Christmas tree. So in last week's video you saw how I made the whale. This is the whale mold, and I have something that I wanted to do with it, so I am actually going to use half of a mold. And if you've never seen me make a half of a mold before, what you do is you spread UV resin on the part of the mold that you want to use, cut a piece of plastic and cover half of the opening and just hold it down. Then put it under the UV light and hold it up to the UV light for a minute or so until it's securely on there. Then I took my epoxy resin and poured it into the opening above where I have the plastic. So it'll take, of course, about half of what you filled the whole mold with, and then set it on its side and look at it from the side and make sure it's high enough. Little shadow there, so it's hard to tell, but the resin is all the way up to the plastic, the piece of plastic. For the whale, I make this blue one, and I make a couple gray ones also. And then when it was done to demold it, all you have to do is pull the piece of plastic off that you had put on with the UV resin, and then there's usually some residual UV resin on there too that you have to pull off, carefully pull off, and then it should come out pretty easy. A little too easy. He flew across the table. Isn't he cute? But he ends up with a lot of residual on the bottom because of him laying on his side. So I used this little tool to get off what I could. And isn't he cute? I think he's so cute as a half mold too. But what I ended up doing was taking him out to the garage and sanding him down. I put my sander upside down in the vise that's on the table and sanded it all down. Gray ones as well as the teal one. So after I bring them in from the sander, I clean them off real good with some rubbing alcohol and just wipe them down and get all the dust and everything off. But then the area that's been sanded is left with a very dull, rough finish, if you can see there. So all I do is I take some UV resin and put it on the dull area and then kind of rub it in with my gloved hand, and then put it under the UV light for about a minute. And then here you can see the difference. The gray one is still really rough and dull. The teal one is nice and shiny. So as you can see, I made several of the half dolphins, and I don't know if it's because of the UV resin or just using it so much that the mold started to crack at the top. So I decided to make another mold just in case this one fails. Also make a mold of the half of the dolphin so I don't have to keep on pouring it in and using UV resin, even though I don't show it. So I had my son print me up a casing to go around the mold. I find this is much easier than using the ones that you buy on Amazon that you build around it, but the other ones do work, and in the past I have used them. If you do buy one off of Amazon, just make sure you follow the directions to a T, because I did not, and like I didn't put enough hot glue around it, or I didn't put the tape on the bottom another time and it leaked. So just follow the directions to a T and you'll be fine. So with the casing that my son printed out, I had some contact paper. This is from the Dollar Tree actually. And I just put it sticky side up, put the casing on top of it, put the whale on top of that, and used hot glue to attach the whale to the sticky paper. And I used Bond Crafter silicone rubber 15A. So the silicone rubber has to be measured by weight, not by volume. So you do need a little scale for it, and that's how I did it. So it seems that the most popular ones are silicone rubber 10 to 20 on Amazon. 10 being the softest, 20 being the hardest. And I'm sure they have a larger variety of numbers that you can purchase, but this is what you see the most of on Amazon. And like I said, this is 15A, and I'm not sure what the A stands for, so I'm going to have to look into that more. The other thing is I watched a video from Glitz and Glitter. If you get a chance, watch it. They did an excellent video on making molds with like the diamond effect, with putting all the crystals and stuff on it. It's a really cool, very informative video. If you get a chance, watch that. So the silicone rubber is stirred just like you would resin. You stir it for about 3 minutes, scraping the sides and scraping the bottom, and it's in your best interest to do it. If you do not have a bubble removal machine, do it very slow so that you don't create any bubbles. The other thing I want to say is you do not need to use the mold making kit. You don't need to use this casing here. You could also use like a plastic Tupperware container or something like that. I have used, I've had leftover the protein box things from Starbucks. I've used those to make the molds in because they're fairly shallow and it's easier to pop them out. But there's different containers that you can use it in. You just have to have a flat bottom. Wanted about 1/4 inch around the edges and taller than the top, and so you really wouldn't want the container much bigger than that because you would be wasting silicone. So after it's mixed, I do put them in separate cups and put them in the bubble removal machine. And then I started putting the hot glue around the casing, the perimeter of the casing. One thing that's a pain about this hot glue gun is because it's cordless, when you pop it off of the base, it stops heating. So it only stays hot for a little while, and then you have to put it back on the base to heat it up again. So I had to take a pause between hot gluing, and I really put a lot of hot glue around the perimeter because I did not want it to leak. I've had these molds leak before. And the other thing that I thought they said that they did on the video that I watched from Glitz and Glitter was to put hot glue under the dolphin and put it down with that, but I had the hardest time getting that off. So next time I'm going to try something else. But you know, if you use something like Elmer's glue or something else, you have to wait for that to dry before you can pour your silicone. So that would be more of a waiting period. I was able to get the hot glue off, but it was kind of a pain. But I also had mine on sticky paper, so the sticky paper alone might just be good enough. So anyway, I finished putting the hot glue around, and then I poured the silicone on top. The working time for this silicone is 30 minutes, and the ideal temperature is 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius, and the cure time is 3 to 6 hours, or when you can demold it. I used a razor to kind of go around the edges. That hot glue was on there permanent. My husband had to cut it off with a knife after I got the mold out of there. And it was really a struggle getting it out, but I did eventually get it out. And the thing that was the hardest was getting that hot glue off the bottom of it. I really had to struggle with that. And these molds, because it had the tail in there, the tail is kind of hard to pull out. The head pops out real easy, but getting that tail loose on both sides was what was causing the most problem, but it did come out. And like I said, the hot glue, I really struggled with that. I ended up getting it off, but it took a long time to get that off the bottom. So I have this little frame and this little package of inclusions. They're like seashells and crushed shells and starfish. I got them from Hobby Lobby. And I just go ahead and put them all the way around the perimeter of this frame mold. And where I'm putting them is actually the frame. The center will be resin glass. And then, of course, there's the little stand that you can also pour. So it's a really cool mold, and I've used it in other projects before. And after I get that all set up, I take some resin and I pour it just around the perimeter, just over the seashells and everything. So I end up moving it over onto the smaller curing table and mixing up more resin and covering all of it. And the reason you probably shouldn't do it that way is because stuff can float over the edge and into the center. You don't want any of it going into the center, and then look what happened. One of the little blue starfish ended up in the middle of it, but I'll cover it up with the whale. You're better off covering the perimeter or the frame with resin first and letting that cure before you pour the rest of it. So I think this mold is so cool, even with the floating starfish, but it's just all in one. And it has its own little frame and then the little stand that you just pop out. I leave this on the resin table all the time. When I have extra resin, I will pour into those little stands because I can use those for other glass art. So for this one, I end up using UV resin on the front of it. And all I do is I take some UV resin, put it at the bottom, and put some crushed shells on top of that, and put the UV light on it. And next, the UV resin I'm using is Light Wish colored UV resin. It's really pretty, nice dark colors. So I end up putting blue at the bottom and some clear resin behind the whale to hold him to the other resin. And then I decide that I'm going to put the blue at the top too, and that the one at the bottom isn't dark enough, so I come back with some darker blue UV resin at the bottom for the water. And then I just do a little touch up, make the darker blue a little bit higher. And then after that's set up, I come back with some white UV resin and I make little waves with it. I'm not sure that this looks particularly great, but it looks cute, I think. I find a small bottle with a very small tip and I squeeze some white UV resin in it, and at the very top I'm going to make 3 birds. I have no idea where I got that bottle from, but I've seen similar ones up at Dollar Tree, but they're not dark like that, and you'd need a dark one for UV resin. I actually ended up doing a second one, and the only thing I did different with this was later on when you see it up close, the other one had like little white snowflakes in it, and instead of putting those in, this time I used the light blue glass along with the seashells around the perimeter, and then in the center I put the blue resin, and then I used the clear resin on the frame part. And there is a little lip there that I didn't go over, and later on I come back and cover the whole thing with clear resin. That is after the bottom part is set up. So this frame I do pretty much the same as the other, but this time I put a piece of tape on it before I put the blue water on to make kind of a horizon line, but you take the tape off before you put the UV light on it, because I've done this before, and if you don't, the tape will stick to the frame. So it was easier to do this way. Then some more clear UV resin at the bottom and some more crushed shells, and again the UV light. So now I'm ready to attach the whale. I put some UV resin on the back of the whale, and this time to put the waves on, instead of using the white UV resin right out of the bottle, I put it in that bottle that has the teeny tiny pointy tip and make smaller waves with it. I like that a little bit better. And I will find out where I got that little bottle from, and I will link it in the description, and I also used it to draw some birds up at the very top of the project. For both of the whales with the seashell frames, I used UV resin to create water spouts at the top of each of the whales. Promise I'll show you everything all together up close at the end. For the whale nightlight, I just took UV resin, put it on the acrylic portion of the nightlight, spread it out, then put the whale on it, and then took the Ashland decorative filler again and put it down below the whale, and then just put the nightlight on it. I mean the UV light on it. Then I tried to draw a little water spout with this silver UV resin, and I didn't really like the way it looked, so I ended up taking it off and then using the regular clear resin to do it. And then I took glass and crushed glass and put it on top of that, and kind of moved it with the toothpick on top of the resin line for the water spout. And then after that had set up, I took my metallic oil-based marker, silver, and went over the glass several times with it so that it would make it stand out more. Then I took some more UV resin and just put it all over the top and sprinkled some teeny tiny clear glass all around the water spout, and then put the UV light on it again. I did the exact same thing with the gray whale, only this time I was able to use the blue crushed glass to make it look more like water. I didn't use the blue glass on the teal whale because I didn't think the colors would look right together. Then I decided to make the whale into a little ornament. I thought that would be cute, so I got out my little resiner's drill, and I had an eye hook, and I drilled a little hole in the top so that I could get it started, and I ended up having to use a tool to finish putting it in because it was starting to hurt my hand turning it. And then I got out my beads and my string and put it through the eye hook, and it just turned into a real cute ornament. And such a pretty blue. Yeah, I love the way he turned out. So I've been saving jars and candles that I've found at different stores and at the Dollar Tree to use to put molds on the top to decorate them. And on this first one, I'm going to put the whale on. And all I'm using is some E6000, and I didn't realize I used way too much on this. It kind of dripped out underneath, but it still looks okay. You just need a little tiny dot. So I put the whale on top of one, and I put the crab on top of the other, but I ended up popping this crab off later and putting a different color on because I liked, I made one specifically to match the color of the side of the jar. And it was just super easy to do, just a little dot of the E6000 and push it down, and in 24 hours it's dry and you have a very decorative candle. They just turned out so pretty. And then this is the new crab I made. The color just matches the candle much better. And I had a little cleanup work to do on the crab, and then I just put a little E6000 on the back and stuck it on top. Super easy. Hey everyone, so I'm trying to get it so I can be in the video and all this other stuff in here. It was like a marathon of crabs and whales. And you saw last week I did the video where I made the initial molds with the G3 curing machine, and out of those I'm still have another video coming out hopefully tomorrow or by the weekend with the starfish, the turtle, and the little teddy bear that are so cute, and different ways to incorporate them into different artwork that you can sell. So I wanted to show you different ways that you can use the molds, because a lot of people just make molds and then they just sit there like that and they sell them like that. But I wanted to show you how you could incorporate them into different artwork to, you know, sell or give as gifts or keep for yourself, or whatever you want to do with it. I know a lot of you go to different craft shows and try to sell your stuff or sell on Etsy and stuff like that. So I thought this would be kind of cool. I myself, I don't sell anything. All my stuff is either given away or to friends or family, or at the food pantry, or it goes on my walls or whatever. But I just thought it would be something that you guys would be interested in. So the first thing was the whale, and the first thing I did with it was put them on these this mold here, and I thought these were kind of cute. A couple of them, some things I didn't like the way it turned out, but the little spout on it was cute. And this frame is, I just love the way this frame is. I've done so many different things on this frame, and I'll show you up in the corner there the other things that I've made with it. But this frame here is real cool because it has its own. It has its own frame. The mold has its own frame, and then its own resin glass that you put your project on, and it even comes with its own stand. And I know you've seen it in my other videos, and I keep this on my resin table all the time because if I have extra resin, I'll pour it into these to use as stands for other projects. So I just think this is really cool. And then besides these, I also made the night lights with them. And it was kind of hard with the blue one, but with the when I made the whale gray, you could see I could make the water blue underneath, and you could see the spout better. But I thought that was kind of cute. And if you're gonna make a half a mold, my suggestion is to, once you pull your half a mold out of here for the half of a whale, if you can make your own mold, I think it's in your best interest for the half, if you're going to make a whole bunch of them projects, for nightlights and that, because every time I put the UV resin on this top part, it's kind of thin and it made it crack. So, I mean, if you're gonna, after you do the first one, if you learn to make molds, you know, with the silicone, you will just love it, because you can make half molds and then make tons of them all on your own if you learn to do it. It really is not hard at all. Trust me, if I can do it, you guys can do it. But that's my suggestion about that. So I thought that was real cute. And then the whale is the ornament. Look at how cute that is. I didn't think of that till the last minute. Look at how cute that whale is, and with those beads like that. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a Christmas ornament. It could be something you hang in your car or in your house somewhere. I don't know. I just thought it was so cute. And then the crab. So this is it on glass art, and of course you could use like a coastal frame or something. I think it would look real pretty on, and with the glass around it. And this is the crab that I used the UV resin in. So poured epoxy resin in, then the UV resin, and then cured it. And that UV resin then becomes hard and it won't move. It'll stay the same color. I mean, you could literally take a toothpick under it and pull the UV resin up, and it's hard, floating in the epoxy resin, and then you have to cure the epoxy resin and it cures right in it. So it's a real neat trick for wanting to keep the colors in the same area, because once you pour, if you were to do the same thing and pour like the colored epoxy in it and swirl it, resin kind of does its own thing, and it will move and shift, and it will become lighter in color. Sometimes it mixes in with the other resin, so it will not look the same. So this is one way to keep it, you know, as dark of a color and to look the same. So I just thought that was really cool. And then this on the nightlight, I thought it looked cute. It hangs over the edge, but I think it looks cute like that, don't you? And I didn't put any glass or anything on it, just the crab. I don't know, I think he's really cute. And then, of course, I made them all into Christmas ornaments or whatever you want them to be, I guess. But I think they would be cute. You know, I live in Florida, but a lot of people live in coastal areas, and they're selling this kind of stuff all over the place. You know, coastal ornaments. And I'm just going to show you up close. So that first blue one is a lot of glitter in there. And this was a clear one with a bell blank. And the next one was the beachy one that I did, that I thought turned out pretty cute. And those beads on there, I think, is what makes them extra cute. This has just a little bit of glitter in it. This has a lot of glitter. In this one, I think I did upside down. So what do you think? Should it be with their big claws up or down? I think up. So that one's down, but that's okay. And then this one here, I actually put shells, the crushed blue shells in there, and I think that's real pretty. And then this one, oh, I put a special effect on the back. Somebody told me about it. I'll put it up in the corner. I poured some glittery resin in there and then painted the back of it after it had cured with a white powder, and then poured a darker color over the back. Yeah, so he's a thick layer of clear resin with some glitter, and then you can see just a thin layer. I painted the white interference powder and then put that darker layer of blue, and I think he turned out so pretty. CEYA. I'll leave a link under the description. He looks like I still have to clean some resin off of him. And then the last one is the whale again, which I think is super cute too. So, and I'll show you these better pictures up close at the end. So I just thought they were all really cute. And then these, I have been saving jars for 4 or 5 months now, because I had a whole bunch of ideas. I've even made a mold out of a lid from the Dollar Tree, because I thought they had a whole bunch of those jars, and I was going to do a whole video on it, and then all of a sudden all the jars sold out. So you never know what they're going to have at the Dollar Tree. But I was just up there the other day, and they had another one of these, a sail away, $5 up at the Dollar Tree. And they still have some of them. Now you could even make your own label for it. take this off. If you have a Cricut, put something else on it. But I just thought this was so coastal looking, said sail away, and that the whale I made to match the candle or the jar, and I thought that was so cute. And wouldn't that be cute to sell or to give to somebody as a gift? $5. And then this one, I put the crab on. I initially put a different crab on, then I thought this matched the color of the side better. And I love the wood tops. I think that looks really coastal. Now, if you were to do it a different way, you could always paint that. But this is a Better, I think this is Better Homes and Gardens or something, and it says, oh no, Ashland. So I must have got this from Michael's on sale. It says $14.99. I bet it was half off or something, because I wouldn't pay $14.99 for one that I'm gonna use for a video. But I think this would make such a cute gift. I think this is so cute. And then, so I've been I've been saving these glass jars forever. So these, right now up at Michael's are 3 for $9.99. So they're $3 a piece, and you could take this label off and put something really cute on the top. I just think that would be so cute for a gift or whatever. I'm just gonna bring you down and show you all this stuff in here. These jars that I've been saving. So, yeah, so this is from the Dollar Tree, and you could put like a Christmas mold on top of that, the pretty red. This was $5 up at the Dollar Tree, and these are all $1.25. $1.25. This one's $1.50 now. A lot of them, they're increasing the price to $1.50, but isn't that a pretty jar? And it has a pretty color top. You could just stick a mold right on top of it. Same with these. Isn't that pretty? Well, that says $1.25, but I think they're $1.50 now. I've been collecting them since before they increased the prices. And then these I got at the Dollar Tree also, and these I think are still $1.25, but they have the wood top. The little turtle would look so cute on that, wouldn't he? I think that would be adorable. And some of them, like this is a coastal one, it has the blue color. They all say something different, balance, soothing, and energize. But aren't those cute? I thought those would make such cute gifts. And then these I found, you have to look at all the different stores. These were $6.99 up at TJ Maxx, and they have a wood top, 3 different ones. You could put something cute on top. They could be for in the bathroom. I don't know what happened to my glasses. They could be for in the bathroom, or look at this one, shows cute paper clips in it, like The Office or something. I just thought those were real pretty. And then these I also got at TJ Maxx, $7.99, 2 larger ones with the wood tops. So I'm going to have these in some of my future videos, but I just thought those were so cute. And then, and the beads. Oh, here, let me pull this back up. So anyway, that's me and my jars. And I have a whole bunch more up in my cupboard, a whole bunch more jars. So the one thing that I really liked about these ornaments was the beads on them. I thought that really added, like I said, to the cuteness. And these, I told you the prices, I'll have them linked. And I was planning on ordering these and seeing which ones I liked the best, but I liked them all, so I ended up keeping them. I spend a fortune on these videos. But I thought the wood ones were real pretty. And like I said, if you have your own wood beads and you don't want to buy new ones, just paint those. You could paint them any color you want. You could spray paint them. But these glass ones were super pretty, and you have to make sure that they have the large holes. You can see how big the holes are on them. But I just thought these were real pretty, and I like the colors of them. And the other beads that I bought up at not at Michael's, at Hobby Lobby. So this would be a cheap alternative. These were $3.99, but they were on sale 40% off. You could get them for like $2.50, and you could paint these any color you wanted, and that would be kind of coastal, like a starfish to put on top of a wood bead or something. So I thought that was a cool idea. So I talked about, so some of them I used the Resiner's rotary tool to get to make the hole in it. Some of them I used the bail blanks, and some of them I remembered to use the Windows hole maker, little Windows hole maker, which was cool. So there's all different ways to create holes in them. for that. Or in one of them, I actually did, this one here, I set the string in it while it was curing, and I didn't make that long enough, but that's another way to do it. That's why I thought that was funny. And then a couple other ornaments that I didn't show you was this one here. I actually put tumbled glass in, so like sea glass. That was kind of pretty. This one I didn't like the way it turned out. If you're thinking about trying it, that I put tiny beads in, so I'm not really sure I like that one. And then the other one, well, this was the other coastal one that I did. This one I liked how that turned out better than this, but it's so pretty. I just love these beads. I think the beads make them look so cute. But anyway, I'm trying to think what else I have to tell you. Bond Crafter resin. This was all done with Bond Crafter resin. I don't have an affiliate account with Bond Crafter. They're not paying me to say this. I do have an affiliate account with Amazon, so if you were to buy it on Amazon, I would get you get a small commission at no additional cost to you. But I just really like this resin. It's crystal clear. It's easy to work with. It mixes easily. You can pour it usually deeper than they say, so it's nice for bigger molds that you would think you might have to use a deep pour for. It's just a really nice resin, and this is for glass on glass and for molds. They do have a tabletop epoxy that you can use on canvas also, but this particular one is just for glass on. I used it for the glass on glass and for these molds, for the different molds. And the other thing is, so these molds here are from Into Resin, which are real pretty. This one has special effects. I did see another couple whales on Amazon, so if you want to look around, they have some cute whales on there that would work well. I like this one better, but still they do have other ones. Now the crab mold I looked for on Amazon and in other places, and they don't have anything as cute as this. They do have another crab mold, but I don't like it. And this one is not an expensive one on the Into Resin site. I do have a 20% discount code. I also have a 15% discount for everything on the Resiner site. So if you're interested in any of that, I will leave all the links in the description. You can check it out. But this crab mold I think is really cute. This one is worth it. If you're in a coastal area and you sell this kind of artwork, I just think it's real pretty, and I love the whale like that as an ornament. I think it's so cute. I thought of that one at the last minute. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. I love to hear your comments. Please leave a comment. Any suggestions that you have, especially about tying the knots on here. I was having the hardest time trying to figure out how to do it so it looked nice. We have the Facebook group, an amazing group, very helpful over there. No questions too silly. Come check us out, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching.